Hey everyone, welcome to That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. My name is Trace, and this is a show where we answer all sorts of crazy questions that you send into us with science and all sorts of other things. And I'm here with Julian Huguet. Let's do it. What's your first question?
I thought you were going to avoid intonation the entire time and just speak in a complete monotone pattern. I thought you were and then right at the end you inflected and you threw the whole thing off, and now people aren't going to want to listen.
Oh man, yeah. I'm sorry. That was a lot. This is a show where we answer your question. Now it's too much inflection. I don't know. It's like when you realize you're breathing, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm breathing wrong.
The average of the inflection, though, is normal, so it's okay.
Anyway, thank you for listening to our show. And we are science communicators, and we're going to answer your questions. And every week we do that. And so if you like the show, you should follow it and share it with your friends and tell your friends about it. And we're going to do a live show in October, so stay tuned for details on that. We're really excited about it. But Julian, you have the first question for this episode. How you doing? What's going on? What's your question?
I'm good, because this question makes me giggle. It's from Ava, who asks, if you were to create a Despicable Me Minion, what living thing would you start with?
You mean like use CRISPR?
Yeah, I guess,
I'm gonna de-evolve this chicken into a minion?
Into a little yellow tube.
A living thing with 1 to 2 eyes, or is it like 1 to 5 eyes?
It's 1 to 2 as far as I've seen. I don't know. Yeah. We don't know what's under the overalls. There could be more down there.
I'm confused because now I'm thinking of like the pill things in like Inside Out and Monsters Inc., the Pixar style ones, where some of those do have multiple eyes. Minions, cool, fun. This is a not sponsored episode, by the way.
No, it's
not.
So
if you want to sponsor us, DreamWorks, you can't just, you can just call us on the phone, 302 Tape Show, TAPESHO.
We would happily shill for Despicable Me 27. What are they up to now? There's a lot.
Despicable Me 73, Land Before Time edition. I think they already made Minion dinosaurs. I don't think in the movie Minion spin-off. Right. Anyway, please continue.
No, don't worry. We'll talk about that.
Okay,
but Ava also includes some context. She says, what makes a minion a minion? What plant/animal most closely resembles a minion to act as a base? Could you Frankenstein different aspects of separate creatures to create a minion? Are there specific genes of said creatures that could mutate to make it more minion?
Wow.
I feel like it's like the crab question of like, eventually can you turn everything into a crab? Right? Like evolution keeps going back to crab.
Yeah, everything becomes a minion eventually.
In the end. So Trace, you said you haven't seen these movies?
I've seen the first Despicable Me, and then I've seen maybe the second one, and then parts of the fourth one at like pediatrician offices, I think. And I've never sat down to watch the Minions movie.
Me either.
And of course, driving down the highway in LA, I see the giant Minion attempting to crawl out of Universal Studios Hollywood, which is not in Hollywood. And a spoiler alert for people who are unaware. Yeah, that's the only Minion experience I have.
I'm even less well-versed in the Minion lore. I've seen the trailers for all the movies, and then like Facebook memes that my friends from high school's moms would share, stuff that's like, oh man, I need a glass of wine, and then it's like a sassy minion,
I don't think minions drink,
I don't think so either.
Wow.
I don't know, but moms love that stuff. That is catnip for moms.
Moms love wine.
Minion memes and
memes.
Wine.
Yes.
Wine
of course.
memes.
They made it their whole personality.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's good.
So I had to do some research on the origin of Minions, right?
Did you watch clues. All the Despicable Me's?
No. I did not have the time or the attention span. I watched clips on YouTube and analyses of where Minions came from other YouTube creators. So I'm really like second order on this one. So if you're like a diehard like Minionologist and I get stuff wrong, please forgive me. Although, it's kind of hard to be that, because even within the Despicable Me universe, origin of Minions is conflicted. Right?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm excited about this.
So in the first movie, they never like outright state where the minions come from.
They just exist.
There's little clues though. Like in the background of one scene on the wall of like the girls' room, there's a blueprint of a minion. And it says like final stamped on it, right? And it's got some dimensions on it. Like they're about 3 feet high. And their fingers are grippy when they're not in the gloves. They have a literal peanut for a brain, at least according to this blueprint.
Oh.
And they have a body that's described as gelato matter. At least that's just there's an arrow pointing to the body and it says gelato matter. Oh, and no teeth. They have dentures instead of their own teeth. So every time you see a minion with a big smile, apparently those are false teeth. Just so you know.
Wow.
Their eyesight is also poor. It says this on the blueprints. You can buy on like the official, shops that sell these licensed things. You can buy these blueprints. And it says, you can make out that their eyesight's poor. And that's why they always need to wear goggles.
Huh.
But it's not just any kind of goggle. On the blueprint, it says they're welding goggles. I don't think that would improve eyesight very much. Have you ever tried to weld anything?
I mean, not with welding goggles on. I just blacksmith forge welded.
Okay.
Bingo
you haven't
score.
like MIG welded or TIG welded or arc welded?
Like Tig Notaro?
No. It stands for tungsten inert gas. It's like
no, it stands for Tig Notaro.
It stands for Tig Notaro.
She's fantastic.
I weld with the power of dry humor.
I would TIG weld every day if I could. She's amazing. I legitimately did not know what that was.
Okay.
No, I've only ever forge welded, which is where you smash a thing with a sledgehammer repeatedly.
This is off the top of my dome. I didn't think we were going to talk too much about welding, but arc welding is like you basically have an electrical current and you let it arc through the material and it melts it together. TIG welding, you have some tungsten and you melt it and there's like an inert gas shield around it so you don't set other stuff on fire. And then MIG welding is another inert gas that uses a different metal, right? And those are
that one's with an airplane.
So yeah, right. That's how all MIGs are put together is
you
with
hold
MIG
the MIG.
It's a requirement.
Up to something else, yeah.
Anyway, don't get me started about MIGs. Anyway.
I'm trying to get somebody to bingo.
Okay. Welding can produce bright sparks and flashes. And so normally welding masks and goggles, they're quite dark and hard to see out of until you're welding. In fact, when they were testing the atomic bomb at the Trinity nuclear test, to actually observe the flash, they looked at it through pieces of welder's glass to protect their eyes, because that's how much it cuts down on the flash. So if the minion's just wearing welding goggles that are opaque, then they're not going to see very well.
Yeah, they're not going to get better vision, for sure.
Right. So to find out a little more about the backstory, though, in the first movie, I found an interview with Vulture from one of the co-writers of the movie, Cinco Paul. And he says that they explicitly didn't show minions being created. Like, that was probably a gross thing the audience wouldn't want to see. But they just made the assumption, like, yeah, of course, that Gru made these things, or he had his henchmen do it or whatever, and, like, engineer these things because they're only found in Gru's lair. They're not in the outside world running around. And so Paul says specifically that they were made in a petri dish from the same strand of mutated DNA and that they were all biologically engineered.
So they're all like brothers and sisters and relatives and stuff.
Or clones. Very similar.
Yeah, clones.
Yeah,
clones. Yeah. Interesting.
Now, it gets muddled because in the 2015 documentary Minions, it has completely different origin for them.
Yes, absolutely.
It shows them in like the primordial ooze as like little single-celled yellow blobs floating around, and they're just following around the most evil thing, and then like something more evil destroys the thing that they were following, and then they're like, oh, that's the new boss, right?
So I'm going to follow them.
And it shows them over a period of literally billions of years, from like the start of life, like 3.8 billion years ago, all the way up to when like the first creatures started walking on land, which was about 430 million years ago. But then that creature confusingly immediately gets stepped on by a T-Rex, which was around...
Wait,
65 million years ago, and then they're following. Yeah, it can't literally be true, right? I think
this is, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a Minion fever. This is the Minion Messiah.
Yeah.
Who's telling you the story of the Minions, but in reality, they're really just a flat Earth type person.
So that co-writer, Minion. Paul, that I mentioned earlier, Cinco Paul, apparently when the Minions movie was getting made, he was kind of pissed about them retconning the origin of Minions. Yeah. And he was like, you guys are messing with the lore. People will care. And then the people at DreamWorks were like, nobody's going to care. It's fine. Nobody's actually going to care. And you know what? They were right. People didn't care that much.
I do really like, in my mind, Cinco was picturing that scene from the Two Towers, or whatever, or from the Fellowship of the Ring, when it's like the Uruk-hai is like, coming out of the mud.
What? Have you read this interview? Because he literally says that bad guys need to make a henchman army. That's part of the bad guy thing, and he compares it to the Lord of the Rings and Saruman making the Uruk-hai.
Did you know that in the early 2000s, we were so innocent and lovely as just a people that they made an action figure of the Uruk-hai being birthed?
No.
And it had birthing action. You could like push a thing and it would push against like a membrane.
Oh my gosh.
And you could buy that at the store. And I'm just so sad that now it's been a while and I don't have one.
So are you saying that if they had shown the Minion Petri dish birthing process, we might have gotten a toy Minion that like gets birthed with birthing action or something?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, with birthing action.
Okay, I'm glad they didn't show it again. So clearly, even diehard Minions fans aren't that upset about the origin being a little muddled, and they can't have actually, evolved in exactly the way the Minions documentary shows them doing because the timeline's all messed up. But it does imply that they're basically immortal. It's like the same organisms persisting throughout the eons of time here on Earth. It's still just like Stuart and Bob and Kevin, like the whole time.
Click on the thing I put in the chat. This is a sidebar completely, but okay. You needed to see it.
Oh my, you weren't kidding. Newborn Uruk-hai. You can buy it for 7.5 Great British pounds?
Great British pounds.
That's, I assume, what GBP stands for.
They're great. Those British pounds.
That's Great British. It says GBP and it's got the pound sterling symbol.
No, it's what it is. It's a Great British pound. But I've never heard it described as like, those British pounds are great.
Was my inflection off?
It was the way you inflected it. Yes. Also, I don't know if you know this, but here on eBay, where you can buy it for the US dollar sign of $15.99, here's the Lord of the Rings Orc Overseer with newborn Uruk-hai toy.
He's got the little
got a flail.
Yeah.
With a pretty serious.
Yeah, the little cat o' nine tails whip. Get out of here. Ouch. We got some conquering to do.
They got a up close picture of the newborn Uruk-hai. It's pretty nasty stuff. This was just sold in a store. Just a normal thing
you gotta monetize. Everything.
Children could buy.
When you got that hot property and you're like, you know what the kids will love? The orc coming out of the orc sack.
Birthing action. But you know what? If you change this to a bright yellow Stuart,
adorable.
I could see it.
Moms will
see
love
it being sold.
And then he comes out with a little glass of wine in his hand. He's like, "Oh, I'm 5 seconds old and I'm already ready for the weekend." Moms love that stuff. Okay, so I took the original creators' idea of where they came from and this kind of them evolving over the eons origin. I kind of tried to meld them together for my approach. But I think that clue from Cinco Paul, that they were all from one strand of mutated DNA, I think that's an interesting place to start. Because when I hear that, I immediately think of bacteria.
Oh.
How much do you know about bacterial genetics?
I probably know more than I think I know, which is how I feel about most things when someone asks me that question. But can I recall it on command?
Like when someone brings up the Lord of the Rings and you're like, oh, I know about a very weird toy from that era.
Yeah. But then you're like, what happened to some character? And I'm just like, I can't even think of a character's name right now.
What?
I know they have genetics.
They do. That's how they are able to, reproduce and live. Yeah. Their genetics is very different than ours. Like the way their DNA is organized is very different than eukaryotic DNA. We're eukaryotes. We have a bunch of chromosomes that are protected in a little nucleus. Bacteria don't have that. Bacteria have one chromosome. It's not in a long chain that has one end and another end. It's arranged in a big circle. Yeah, it's one long loop of DNA.
Cool.
And it's also, I say long loop, it's actually a lot shorter than like our DNA. For example, DNA chromosome might be 130,000 base pairs at the low end to 14 million base pairs at the high end, and it depends on the species. Our chromosomes, remember, we have 23 times 2, so 46.
Right.
The shortest one of our chromosomes, which is chromosome number 21, has 40 million base pairs. The longest is almost 250 million base pairs, and that's chromosome 1, by the way.
Whoa.
So our smallest chromosome is almost 3 times bigger than the largest bacterial chromosome, and then we have 46 times more chromosomes per cell.
Wow.
Every single one of our cells has 46 times more chromosomes, and then all of them are, at a minimum, 3 times longer.
Wow.
So it's a lot more DNA to make a human.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just a touch more.
Or like a complex eukaryotic organism, right? That's part of what makes us what we are, is the ability for our cells to team up and work together and be like, hey, let's make an organ, let's have a specific function. Okay, well, we need DNA that works really well for that specific function to code for. And then in another part of the body, they're like, we don't need that DNA, but we need some other DNA. And it all has to be all bundled together, right? And that's why part of the reason why our DNA is so long. But bacteria, super simple. Don't need nearly as much. They got the one chromosome. And then they have little rings of DNA, much, much smaller, called plasmids.
Oh, I have heard of the word plasmids, but I never looked it up.
So in bacteria, plasmids are the ways that bacteria can have what they call bacterial, well, to use our euphemism, tax time.
Oh, they can do their taxes.
They can do taxes, but it's different, right? A lot of bacteria...
They just mitosis.
Yeah, bacteria usually reproduce by binary fission.
Yeah.
Is the term. And actually, that's where the nuclear fission term comes from. When they first discovered nuclear fission, there was a biologist nearby, and one of the scientists was like, hey, what do you call it when 2 cells split? And he was like, binary fission. That's where nuclear fission gets its name.
Huh. I love cross-discipline science.
Yes. It was interdisciplinary. It was cool.
Interdisciplinary. Yeah.
Borrowed from another field. But anyway, so when this happens, you're going to get almost identical clones, right? Barring there's some mutation in the reproduction of that chromosome. But let's say, there's some little plasmid that some bacteria gets somehow, and there's a lot of ways that it can enter it. Well, they can share it with each other by having, bacterial tax time. So a lot of bacteria have these little, what are called pili on the outside, which means hairs. And they can connect them with each other and form like a little tube. And they can transmit these tiny little rings, because they're so small, these little plasmids, to each other. And through that, they can confer upon each other things like antibiotic resistance.
Cool.
Yeah.
And also terrifying.
Yeah.
Bunch of bacterial docking is happening out there.
Helps them adapt quickly, even, within the same generation. They don't necessarily have to wait for the main chromosome to mutate and evolve. Also, when I think of the pili, I think of the little hairs on top of the minion heads.
Wait.
In fact, the whole minion shape actually reminds me of bacteria.
Yeah, they are just pill-shaped with legs and arms and welding goggles,
right?
As it turns out.
Well, it's overalls.
Yeah, overalls. But they do have a butt.
Apparently.
We've seen their booties.
Sometimes.
They're bundas, as we call them in our house.
Maybe they had a transfer of DNA and at some point evolved a butt. Because in the early ages, according to that one, when they first came on land, there's one guy without like a little grass skirt around him. I didn't see a butt on him. I didn't look super closely.
Full dogma angel. just full Ken doll.
Yeah, right? Nothing down there. Smooth. Okay.
Smooth.
But yeah, like you mentioned, they look like bacteria. Of course, bacteria come in a lot of different shapes. They can be sometimes niche, weird ones, corkscrews, filaments, but there's like 2 big categories. There's the coccus shape, which is little spheres, and they can link together. They can form streptococcus, like chain of cocci. And that's a streptococcus bacterium species causes strep throat. They can form a little grape-like organization, and that's Staphylococcus, which guess where staph infections get their name?
Oh, I wouldn't know. Can you tell me?
It was subtle, but it was just there a second ago.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Wait for the episode to come out, and then
I'll listen to it again.
Back to that point.
Yeah, I'll listen to it again.
Yeah. You'll pick it up like a month from now when this releases. I'm not going back. Of course, but then they can also come in that rod-like shape, the bacillus shape. And they can also, form different other little clusters, right? They can also form a streptobacillus shape, like a chain of them. But that rod-like shape, I've got a picture here from Encyclopedia Britannica, just one of those,
encyclopedia.
One of those standardized little drawings, and what is that?
It looks like a minion.
Looks like a minion shape.
It's a very fuzzy minion. It's Minion's cousin it.
It's a very hairy minion in this drawing.
To cross my universes. It's Minion's cousin it.
Yeah. Interdisciplinary fictions.
Media fiction universe.
Okay, so I think bacteria being the basis for minions might be a good start, but are there other maybe clues that could make me more certain of this? I think there are. So there are obviously a lot of ways to categorize bacteria when we want to describe them to help us identify what their species is, right? We've got that shape, whether they're bacillus or coccus. Have you ever heard of gram staining?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is. This is exciting because I feel like this comes up a lot. You might hear gram positive or gram negative.
Yeah, gram positive, gram negative. I hear that.
People don't really know, and it's super simple. It's easy to remember, and it's a great way to tell, two major different categories of bacteria apart. Gram staining gets its name from Hans Christian Gram, who came up with this process in 1884. And what you do when you're doing a gram stain test, you literally stain the bacteria with a purple dye. And then you rinse it out, and then you check if it's still purple or not. And if it's still purple, it's gram positive. If it's not, it's gram negative.
Oh, that's easier than I thought.
Yep. Now, the reason it might be gram positive versus gram negative is gram positive bacteria have a thick cell wall on the outside, and this crystal shape of the cell wall holds the dye very well, that purple dye, so it stays in that cell wall. Gram-negative bacteria have a thin cell wall, and then outside of that, they have another membrane layer. And so the dye doesn't stay in that membrane layer, and you don't see it when you rinse it out.
Yeah.
If they've got another outer membrane layer that's like phospholipids, that kind of sounds like the gelato-type composition to me that the blueprint has suggested our minions are.
Interesting.
So,
like it's squidgy.
I think our minions might be a gram-negative bacteria. And I have further evidence of that.
You do?
I do. So in Despicable Me 2, there is a time, and again, I have not seen it, so I am making assumptions based on context clues. But there is a time when Gru and his loyal minions are trying to infiltrate a facility guarded by evil minions.
Wait, there are other minions?
There are other worse minions. They are...
No, I guess. Do they have mustaches?
I don't know, actually.
I feel like they'd have to have mustaches.
The defining characteristic of them is they're purple.
Oh.
Yes.
And their hair looks worse.
They do have very shaggy, crazy hair. And they're more aggressive, and they have big, sticky, pointy, outy teeth, which, again, I guess would just be the dentures. None of this universe makes sense, right? Because there's a clip of the normal minions being genetically modified to the purple evil minions, and its teeth just change, but we've established that those are dentures. So how does that work? Did it change the structure of the dentures? I don't know. I don't understand how that's possible. Anyway.
Wow, they're purple.
Yes, okay. I've got the clip pulled up. So here's Gru and his minions trying to sneak into this purple guarded minion base, right? And the normally yellow minions have a blue dye on them. So they're spitting at each other, and finally one of them gets spat on so much, he wipes his face, and what happens, Trace?
He's back to yellow.
He's back to yellow. He did not retain the purple dye, meaning he is
Gram-negative.
Gram-negative. He's a gram-negative bacillus.
Oh my God, Julian.
Right.
This is, wow.
Now, furthermore, there's more ways to categorize bacteria, right? Whether or not they need oxygen.
Right, anaerobic or aerobic.
Yes.
Bacteria.
Exactly. And there's a clip that makes me think
that
minions are not necessarily aerobic. There's one point in the first Minion movie when a little minion...
Wait, there's 2 Minion movies? Oh, God.
No, would you believe it? There are so many more. They are multiplying. They are spreading.
Oh, no.
So there's a point in the first Minion movie where one of the minions drinks an anti-gravity potion, and then he floats off through
I've seen that in the
skylight.
Clips. Yeah, in the clips, I've seen it.
Because they accidentally left the skylight to the secret lair open, I suppose.
Right, I guess, yeah. Makes total sense.
There's a callback later in the movie where we revisit this guy.
And he's in space.
He's floating up in space! Or at least very high up, because you could hear him make little screams and squelches there. So there's still some oxygen for him to make sound. But still, it looks like it's an extreme altitude, at which point most people would not be able to get enough oxygen.
Yeah.
So I think our minions might be facultative anaerobes.
What?
So there's different types of anaerobic bacteria, and if they're like exposed to oxygen, some might die, or others they don't necessarily need oxygen, like they'll work with it to make ATP if it's available, but if it's not, they'll switch how they make ATP to fermentation, and so they don't necessarily need it. And those are facultative anaerobes.
Okay.
Right? I think the minions fall under this category.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Right. So we've got to kind of wrap up all the different clues that we have from the Minion movies, right? They are bacteria-shaped, gram-negative, rod-shaped. They're facultative anaerobes. Scientists work with them in labs a lot and modify them. And they are helpful, but sometimes harmful. Can you think of any one particular bacteria species that might tick all those boxes?
E. coli.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Escherichia coli.
Nailed it. Escherichia coli.
Escherichia coli. MC Escher coli.
Yes, that's the one.
That's what it is.
Ticks all of those boxes.
Yeah.
Right? It is probably the most studied bacterium ever because it's so useful as a species. We can do so much to it in a lab. We can modify it. My wife even worked with E. coli during one of her microbiology labs. That's a bingo spot for you, for all of you listening. I brought up my wife's studies. And funny enough, I remember she had pictures of them. They were, expressing certain genes that they were trying to implant in them using these plasmids. And they looked yellow, the little E. coli colonies.
Stop it.
Yes. They can be different depending on what substrate you're growing them on. If it's like agar, they might just be white. If it's lactose, they might be yellow. But yeah, you can make like yellow E. coli.
And it seems like Cinco did make yellow E. coli.
Seems like it. I know the Minion crowd is bloodthirsty, so I'm just going to give Pierre Coffin his due. He's really the guy who came up with the Minion shape, because they went through a lot of different ideas of what the Minions would be, and he came up with the little bacillus-shaped guys, and also voiced them, and then directed the Minions documentary in 2015.
Oh, this guy is super into Minions.
Super into Minions.
Do you think his license plate is Minion?
I sure hope so. Do you think he gets sent Minion memes by like his mom?
I mean, I hope so. I hope, you know what? I hope he made all the Minion memes. It's just him. He's just at his desk, just making Minion memes.
Right.
He's like,
he's
LLMs are going to make this so much easier.
It's a PSYOP campaign to get them to make more Minion movies. If he just floods the internet with Minion memes.
With Minion memes.
If it's in the collective consciousness, then people will be like, oh, another Minion movie. I'll go see that.
Yeah, I would see another one. They're so silly.
I think E. coli also fits well the kind of alternative, that 2015 Minion movie origin, because, I mean, they're found a lot in mammals, but they're also found in birds, reptiles, fish. So I could see that opening, that doesn't really technically make sense, being like a metaphor for them, the little E. coli bacteria, helping out different organisms over evolutionary time.
Oh.
And the idea that they want to be helpful, but sometimes they're harmful, it also kind of gels with that most E. coli species are not harmful. In fact, a lot of them are beneficial and live in our gut. It's when we get different strains of E. coli that can make us get like traveler's diarrhea or, food poisoning if the E. coli was like from the cow that was slaughtered and then...
Right.
Or like cow poop that got into the water supply that then was used to water crops, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it fits well with the Minion kind of ethos.
Yeah. Cute. I like that you're retconning their retcon. You should send this everybody email this to Cinco and so that he can feel better about it.
He did say when he was upset about the origin being different, for himself personally, he made it jibe by saying like, this whole origin story is like what Gru tells to the Minions, like it's a bedtime story.
That's sort of how I felt
really
about it.
From.
It's like the Minion Messiah story of just, it's fine.
Yes,
we came
exactly.
You came from here, and this is so it all makes sense to you. But in reality, it's messy and complicated.
Yes. It's also funny because Cinco Paul has to address kind of like, if their whole purpose is to serve the most evil thing, what are they up to in like the 1930s and 40s? Right? And so in the official storyline...
Maybe in like 2025.
Yeah. No, in the official storyline, they're like banished to an ice cave for 100 years after failing Napoleon Bonaparte. Like, so they just didn't have to deal with that question.
Oh, you know what? That solves it.
That
brilliant. Solves it that solves it really well right there. I like that.
I mean, okay, so obviously there's issues with like a giant single bacterium being 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for context, when you poop, because we've talked about this a lot, your poop is a lot of dead bacteria in there. And there are 10 to the 9 E. coli cells per gram of fecal matter.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And
wow.
Not only that, but that's not by a long shot the only constituent of your fecal matter. Like your gut has over 500 taxa of microbes inside of it. E. coli is just one of those things. Although, like I said, can be very beneficial. It produces vitamin K and vitamin B12. And we secrete some things that help the E. coli grow. So there's evidence that it's actually like a mutualistic relationship that we've developed with these organisms over a very long time.
Cool.
Sidebar, but it's kind of gross, but I want to share it anyway, because somebody in our question database asked, the age-old question of like, with human bodies, why is there like the sewage dump next to the playground?
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yes, classic question.
When we are being born, we get E. coli from our mothers, just right there, just by the part of that process. Don't think about it too much, but you know what I'm getting at? You know what I'm saying?
I'm just blinking quietly. I'm just quietly blinking.
I think it's coming across on the podcast.
As I've witnessed
the blinks were audible.
Experience. Yeah, I've witnessed this experience, and I can tell you. Yes.
Yep.
There is 10 to the 9th.
So that's where it comes from. You're still carrying that on from Mama.
Thanks, Mom.
So I don't think our Minions are necessarily one giant E. coli. I thought maybe there could be like a shrink ray or like a make them
grow
big
ray,
an unshrink ray,
make them big ray. No,
ray?
make them big ray with an M and like a dash.
An
like
embiggening.
Make dash big ray.
Make them big.
Make them big ray.
Right. Except the plot of like the whole first movie is Gru trying to get a shrink ray, so clearly they couldn't have been made.
So maybe that's why he wanted the shrink ray so bad, because he make them big.
He wants to make them small again.
No, he wants to make them little,
a tiny giant bacterium.
Yes.
But yeah, we always talk about surface area to volume ratio, right? The reason that our cells are so small is because at a certain point, if they grow larger, they can't take in nutrients and get rid of waste efficiently or transport stuff inside of the cells very well. And that's why we're made up of billions and billions of teeny, teeny, tiny little cells and not, like one giant liver cell and one giant intestinal like cell,
Right.
So I think our Minions might conceivably be a colony of E. coli, just like a E. coli that was encouraged through some genetic manipulation to start working collectively and forming like a cohesive giant organism. Now, again, that doesn't even make sense because like I'm not shaped like the individual cells in my body, right? Like you don't zoom in and there's a bunch of little Julians like holding hands.
That would be amazing,
it would
personally.
Be. Just keep
really cool.
Keep going.
I can see it. I can see it. But I'm glad we're not that.
Yeah.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
That'd be very weird.
Yeah, it's not necessarily perfect, but I do think, if you're going to take a bunch of Lego bricks, like rectangular Lego bricks, it'd be easy to make one giant rectangular Lego brick out of it. So why not the same with like this bacillus bacterium, right? Just get a lot of them, just stack them in a bacillus shape and then shove some dentures in there. And then I guess a peanut with some processing power or something. Bring.
Turns out maybe they have like a peanut allergy, and so they shove it in there, and that animates the whole colony.
Yeah,
the whole colony
they're all
moves.
freaking out. That's why they're so panicky, from what I can tell in the animations. Yeah, and then you hold them together in some overalls. Like the clothes are really to give them form,
to give them some form, some shape.
Yeah,
they really pour themselves into the overalls.
It's the super villain version of like 3 kids in a trench coat. It's just several trillion E. coli in overalls.
With welding goggles.
Yeah. Gotta hold the eyeball in there. They probably have like a primitive eye structure or something.
Yeah.
And then you got the goggles for better resolution. Give them like a little
Julian,
lens.
this is wild.
I think I've cracked it, honestly. I went through different ideas. I was like, they're in space, maybe a tardigrade, but they don't look, tardigrades are like 6-legged bears, basically, like microscopic bears.
They're very specific looking.
Yeah. They tick some boxes, but when I went down the bacteria route, I was like, no, this is it. I think I've got it. So, Ava, to answer your question, what would I start with? And therefore I can't be wrong because it's my opinion. I would start with E. coli, and I would genetically modify it until it talked and liked bananas.
Named Stuart.
It was named Stuart, yeah. You name it whatever you want. I don't know. Kevin.
I think.
Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is legitimately one of the most insane things we've talked about on this show. And that's saying a lot. Episode 99. Took us a while to get here, but only uphill from here. Let's take a quick break and come back with another question from another listener. Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
We think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out. All right, welcome back, minions. Now it's time. Oh, I just had a thought that if they're E. coli are in poop, every time.
Wait.
Right? Like your.
What?
Yeah, like it's like your poops are like your minions.
Oh, God.
Every time you go, you can be like,
Julian.
Thanks, minions.
Julian, I know that you're not.
Thanks for the vitamin B.
You didn't really
12.
minion before now, but you're falling into a hole that I don't know if I can bring you back from.
Oh, yeah? Well, maybe I can be birthed out of it if you whip me with a flagellum.
Maybe.
Like the Urukai. All right, Trace, what's your question?
This week, my question comes from, based on their email, Mostaphael, and they ask, is it possible to drown people in saliva? If so, what does it take to do that to someone? And they elaborated, I was reading a novel that they used the following phrase, I will be drowned by the saliva of the French.
What possible context could that be?
I don't know. I need to know more. This has made me wonder, could it be possible to do that? Additionally, I am doing an all-nighter to try and regulate my sleeping schedule, so this question might be the result of that. But it still seems absurd enough. So I say, why not send it? I might even learn something new. And who knows, maybe someday it'll become a new, cruel, and unusual punishment. I like that Mostaphael just went full stream of consciousness after their question ended, which is great. Thank you very much for sending that.
Have we ever talked about how Dali would come up with his weird surrealist visions? So apparently he used to just sleep deprive himself, and he would like sit in a chair and he would hold like cutlery, and then as he was like starting to really drift off and go into that kind of weird in-betweeny state, you know, where like reality starts to kind of blur, his hands would just naturally relax and he'd drop the silverware and it would wake him up, and then he would like paint the
what
last
he thought of
thing
at that
he
moment
envisioned, right? This is the question version of that, is what I'm hearing.
I was thinking more like, because the one you picked, this is both like evil villain questions. Hey, if you were gonna make an evil minion helper, what would you do? And then just, you know, unrelated, if you were gonna drown someone in saliva.
Yeah. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to drown.
Wow. Okay. So I want to get this out of the way at the top. We're not going to laugh for a minute. Drowning is terrible. It's bad. Drowning is bad.
You can't say don't laugh.
And don't laugh, Julian. Over 300,000 people drown every year.
Okay.
And if you need help, if you know somebody who is drowned and you want help, go to findahelpline.com and you can get help. Yes, you can drown in saliva. I'm just going to say you can. You can drown in any liquid. Drowning is a type of suffocation. The WHO calls it the process of experiencing respiratory impairment from submersion or immersion in a liquid. And you can drown in 60 seconds or less, which is a lie from the movie industry, which makes it seem like there's a lot of shouting and thrashing and flailing, and I'm trying to swim, but I'm not, and I'm drowning slowly. And it's actually the real problem with drowning is that it's silent. It just happens within seconds. And it's the second leading cause of death of children under 14 after Cars. Not the movie.
Okay.
Which still doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So anyway, once all that said, basically it's caused by hypoxia. You don't get oxygen. You don't get oxygen to your brain. And with as little as 30 seconds without oxygen, you can essentially pass out. If you pass out under the water, this is bad. The fluid that you are passing out in, saliva or pool water or lake water, river water, whatever, fills the lungs. You can have a laryngospasm, which is a reflex to stop the fluid from getting in the lungs, or you can just get fluid in your lungs, and once it's in there, it can cause damage, and the lack of oxygen can cause brain damage, and that is bad. Again, all of this very sad.
Yeah, great comedy show.
Yeah, really funny show, Trace. Really funny.
Love it.
Have you heard of the term dry drowning?
Is that a Mormon thing?
No, that's soaking. Oh, no. So dry drowning is when you allegedly get water into your body and then like drown later. Huh. It's not actually real. It's a misnomer. Also, it's sometimes called secondary drowning or near drowning. There's no such thing as near drowning. You either drowned or you didn't. And it sometimes refers to the delayed illness caused by aspiration of water. Like if you choke on water and you cough to get it out of your lungs, sometimes some fluid is still in your lungs if it's very serious, and that can cause problems. Pediatricians refer to this as water in your larynx. It doesn't go in your lungs. And dry drowning comes from media and blogs, not from medicine. There's no official diagnosis of dry drowning or delayed drowning or secondary drowning or near drowning. It's extremely rare to even have to worry about it. But as a parent, I have heard about it. There is some parent somewhere yelling at their headphones, I guess, if they're listening on that. I don't understand how that idiom that I just came up with would work. Anyway, they're just yelling. It's not a real thing, but it's extremely rare to get water in your lungs by like, oh, you were in a pool, you swallowed some water, your kid is coughing. It can be very scary. They're probably not going to like, quote unquote, dry drown like 3 hours later and just be found drowned on dry land. Like that's not how it works. You can have lung damage from getting fluid into your lungs. So if you think that there's fluid in your kid's lungs or in yours, go get medical attention because they will be able to help you.
Yeah.
The idea of getting fluid out of your lungs, we have a system for that. It's called coughing. And the only thing that would stop you from getting that fluid out is, again, the spasm of your throat muscles, your vocal cords, making it hard to get air in and out. Inflammation of the lung tissue could also happen, by the way. Or in most serious cases, if you really do get fluid in your lungs, pulmonary edema. That bad. That real bad. So if you think you have water or fluid in your lungs, kids especially, go to the doctor right away. Dark part of the episode over.
Oh, thank goodness.
Interesting sidebar palate cleanser. Did you know that lungs are not empty sacs that you fill with air? Did you know that?
I mean, in the sense that there's like a lot of stuff in there, like
they're solid.
Yeah.
They're considered a solid organ.
Yeah, they just have like a lot of little branching pathways and alveoli, right?
Right.
Like little sacs.
But I think most, at least I think when you're a kid and when you see them in movies when you think of a lung, you don't think of it like, oh, the liver is solid and the pancreas is solid and the lung is solid.
It's like
but
a
they
balloon.
Are all
yeah, is what you
solid.
think of it as a lot of
right.
the time.
It's not a balloon. It's not an empty sac that you fill with air. And so like when you drown, it's not like water has rushed into your Ziploc bag inside of your chest.
Right.
Like that's not how they work. Lungs are solid organs. Did you also know that the lung is not mirror imaged? It's asymmetrical.
You know, I hadn't thought about it too much, but it makes sense based on the heart shape.
Yeah, exactly. The right lung has 3 lobes, a top, middle, and a bottom. They have different names. I'm not going to go into it too much. The left lung has 2 lobes, and the lobe is then filled with sponge-like tissue and further divided into segments. The right has 10 segments. The left has either 8 or 9, depending. Sometimes, by the way, they found like people with 4 lung lobes, and they're like, whoa, that's cool.
Dang.
Yeah, neat. Wow. And then the segments are then divided into lobules, and the lobules are hexagonal, and they're visible to the naked eye. They look like little bubbles. And inside of those are the bronchial tubes and alveoli sacs, and there are billions of essentially like microscopic balloons.
Right.
But again, the lung is a fairly spongy piece of solid tissue, which I think is just great. As someone who thinks of biology and always thinks of that Calvin and Hobbes comic from early on in Calvin and Hobbes when he's outside playing in leaves and Hobbes is like, there could be a slug in there. And he's like, a slug? And then he says, that's the problem with nature. Something's always stinging you or oozing mucus on you. That's how I feel about all biology. There's always something oozing or wet.
Yeah.
And while I was reading up on this, I was looking up lung anatomy and I found a piece titled Anatomy, Thorax, Lungs. And the researcher writes at the very top of the piece, grossly, the lungs have spongy texture and pinkish gray hue. And I thought, you think it's gross too? Oh, you mean gross like entirety.
Oh, okay.
I had to read it 3 times before I was like, grossly, the lungs have a spongy texture and pinkish gray hue. You think it's gross too?
Just a very informal textbook.
I was really excited that they thought it was gross, but still interesting because that's how I feel. I find it gross.
I could just see the section on blood is just like one key is held down because the writer like passed out because they like couldn't handle talking about blood.
They get to the thorax part and they're just like, disgustingly, the thorax is
biology by people who hate biology.
Honestly, I would read it. It'd be fun.
Good. Your body's horrible. Here's everything you need to know about it.
The nightmarish pancreas is. So anyway, when water gets inside of the lungs, because it's solid, it doesn't really like fill up the lung like you would think if you were picturing a movie where like the lung has a bag, you know. Instead, what it does is it inhibits the gas exchange at a microscopic level that we need to inhale the O2, attach a carbon to it, and ship it back out again as CO2, which is actually pretty amazing if you think about it. Like, it's a pretty amazing thing. So couldn't you drown in saliva? As I said at the top, yeah, of course you can, because saliva can inhibit this process the same as any other fluid. But let's talk about saliva,
okay,
Julian. Let's talk about
let's spitball.
Saliva. Yeah, let's spitball about it. Let's just jaw jack about it. Saliva is super interesting. It's pre-digestion juice that your body makes so your stomach is ready to do the job, which is pretty cool. Julian, do you make a lot of saliva? Are you like a wet mouth or like a barren mouth
I'm pretty
person?
drooly, honestly. If my pillow when I'm falling asleep is to be believed,
Ew.
Wow. I had nothing worse than like kind of half waking up with that like drool feeling.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's kind of gross, but I also I was sleeping good. If I have the drool mark, it means that I had a good sleep. I also am drooly. I have a condition called EOE, eosinophilic esophagitis.
Oh, your drooling's medical? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's not really the drool part, but EOE is basically food gets stuck in my esophagus. My esophagus attacks food as if it were an allergen trying to invade my body.
Oh, not ideal.
And it closes the esophageal side of my highway, and I can still breathe, but I can't swallow food. And this, I've been in an NIH study. It's actually fairly common, we know now, but when I was in the study 15 or so years ago, it was still fairly new. A year ago, it got stuck so bad that I couldn't swallow anything for 18 hours, and I had to go to the ER where they pulled it out with an endoscopy, which was fun. But sitting there drooling into a cup for a day and a half because you can't swallow anything really shows you how much liquid your body makes. Because you're just it can't go down, so
gotta come out.
Comes back out. And it's pretty gross. Grossly, that happened to me.
As in there was a large volume of spit that you could...
Yeah, grossly, yes. There was a gross volume. That meant that I filled up a cup and had to go dump it out in a large cup.
Wow.
At that. And so it was just and you had to do that a bunch of times. But you end up with just drool, spit, saliva, whatever you want to call it. And so saliva is made in your mouth by your salivary glands. It's made by other mammals and other animals as well. So drowning in saliva, we need to know how much we make. And then, we need to know how much we might need to drown a person. Simple math.
How many Frenchmen?
Yeah, I think bonus we need to know, do French people make more of it than the average person? So the Cleveland Clinic says that the human makes between 0.5 to 1.5 liters a day. For the metric ignorant, that's 2 to 6.3 cups of saliva for most adults. And 1.5 liters, by the way, is the volume of the human stomach. 3 times the typical blood donation, 9/10 an ostrich egg, 13 hockey pucks worth of saliva.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, I knew.
I know exactly the volume of a hockey puck.
I knew you'd pick that one up. That 13 hockey puck's heavy. That's a lot. But, we're not talking about mass. We're talking about volume. Yeah,
no, volume.
So saliva is 99% water. It's 1% proteins, electrolytes, and other things. There are over 1,000 proteins in saliva, according to the Cleveland Clinic, and only about 10% of it are in the, quote, high abundance area, and that's proline-rich peptides, which is almost 70% of all the proteins in your spit. And this is a family of proteins that protect your teeth, regulate microbes in your mouth, and protect against infections. Remember in the licking wounds episode, we talked about you lick your wounds with your saliva, animals do this, and it helps protect their wounds. The PRPs are the things that they're depositing, which is kind of neat to think about. Yeah, humans, we don't know if it actually works, but in animals it does, which is cool. There's also mucins, which sounds like mucus, because they're large proteins that lubricate the mouth and form a physical barrier for viruses, fungi, bacteria. As we like to say, the mouth is the largest hole in your body, so the body puts a lot of effort into protecting what goes in and out of it. There's also amylase, salivary amylase, which is an enzyme to digest carbs. Most amylase you make is in your saliva, but it's also in your pee and in your blood and in other things as well, which is kind of cool. They're not the only thing that's in your pee and your blood and other things too. Antigens, which are, your blood type. Your saliva will tell everyone your blood type. So does sweat, urine, digestive juice, breast milk, tears, semen. They all have antigens. And you can determine blood type from any of those, which are kind of neat. And then host defense peptides, secretory IgA, immune response, and antibodies, stuff like that. This is all less than 1% of your saliva, but it's all there, which is pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you're making a liter a day, 1.1 quarts for those who are metric ignorant, because everybody knows how much a quart is out there.
1/4 of a gallon, so...
Yeah.
And 1 gallon is a little more than 4 liters, so,
Yeah, 3.8, yeah. So it's all relative.
Yeah.
So we just have to do some math. You can drown, again, go a little sad. You can drown in as little as a teaspoon of water is the quoted metric a lot, but that's pretty unlikely. Like, it would have to be that teaspoon has to get in your lungs at exactly the right way to block your airway and give you that spasm that would close off your airway to give you hypoxia. So yeah, sure. Yes. Yeah, you can. But chances are we're going to need Bond villain style, because that's the theme of this episode. We need a pool. We need a swimming pool of saliva, 12 meters by 6 meters, 2 meters deep, so that a 5'10" person could be underwater.
With a lot of very disgusted piranhas swimming around in it, like, the
volume of a 12 by 6 by 2 meter pool is 144,000 liters, or 144 square meters. So pretty big. That's a good size. It's a nice size swimming pool.
So
6 feet deep and like 30 some feet long. Pretty good size.
So 144,000 liters, you said?
Yes.
And we make about a liter a day on average?
Yeah, like that's the median.
So
I don't know if that's the mean, but
either one guy taking 144,000 days, which would be like what?
That's 395 years.
Yeah, okay. Or
so 1 minion,
or 144,000 people,
right? Each making a liter for a day. That's still a lot.
I think you could convince the French to spit on, like 144,000 French people to spit on somebody they don't particularly like.
Just put one British person at the bottom of a pool and have them say something like,
as a tourist, yeah. I could picture 144,000 of them.
Put one Walmart croissant on the bottom of a big open area and be like, that's real good. And then they'll just spit on it. It'll be full in an hour.
Yes.
So it'd take 1,000 people like 5 months to fill that. But you could probably do it, right? Like it's 99% water. So you fill it up. Like as you're filling it, Bond villain should be able to find 1,000 henchmen to drool, right? You would think.
What does the payroll for a Bond villain look like? Anyway.
But then I had this idea. Okay, Julie, I had this idea.
Yeah.
What if we didn't use human saliva? What if we didn't use humans at all?
Oh, you are going real Bond villain, aren't you?
Okay, so dogs drool a lot.
Sure
right?
do. Just keep ringing that bell.
Yeah, they just drool. And the Mastiff and the Saint Bernard. And I went and looked and tried to find like a good which dogs drool the most and how do you get them to drool a lot and whatever. But then I thought, okay, we got a Rube Goldberg contraption where we're extracting saliva from an animal. And then there's the water wheel with boots on it, because there has to be, right? You gotta fill the boot. You gotta fill the boot water wheel. There has to be there. There has to be some kind of lever that doesn't necessarily need to be there, but it's there for some reason.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I thought, this doesn't seem. I can't picture dogs, right? Like I can't picture dogs.
Oh, they're four-legged, furry, super friendly.
Right. So instead, I see what you did.
Yeah, thank you.
So instead, I thought, there is an animal that you could put in a barn, like a large structure that just stands around and chews all day. The cow.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So I looked it up.
Like their whole thing.
There's like their whole thing. I looked it up in the International Journal of Molecular Science. Any guesses? You want to Price is Right out how much you think?
How many liters
a cow? Liters per day. Cows do.
Okay, I'm going to try and scale up to like cow size from human size. I'm going to...
Oh, it's...
Wait. Hold on. I'm not done yet. This is the first part of the equation. I'm going to say a cow could be like 8 times the weight of a human. So this is 8 liters. And then because they're such prodigious chewers and spitters, I'm going to multiply it by 3 and say 24.
24 liters.
Did I get it right?
No, you didn't even get close, dude.
By your reaction, I thought I nailed it.
Not even close.
Not even remotely close.
Not even in the ballpark. The University of Minnesota, don't you know, says, hey, a cow's salivary glands can make like 50 to 80 quarts of saliva daily.
Okay.
But the International Journal of Molecular Science is like, whoa, 50 to 150 liters.
Holy
per day.
Cow.
So median of 100 liters, literally 100 times more saliva than you and I. We can fill this pool in an afternoon.
Now, brown cow. So they have to be French cows, though, still.
Yeah, of course.
It's got a little beret and a cigarette.
I think you could get the Highland cows with like their cool, like super chill haircut if you wanted. But so you have the Rube Goldberg machine in your Bond villain lair, and it's sucking the saliva out of the cattle. And this is a villain post, so we're not really concerned with cow welfare.
Sorry,
but
cow.
Of course, in reality, we would be. So maybe we're sucking out only 100 of the 150 that they're using. We have 1,000 head herd of cattle, which sounds like a lot, but according to the U.S. dairy statistics, many herds average more than 2,000, with tens of thousands of herds across the United States. Any idea how many cows there are in the U.S.? 9.342 million cows. So 1,000 head.
Honestly,
no big deal.
Less cows total than I thought.
It's a lot. I mean, almost 9.5 million cows. A lot of cows. So we're sucking the saliva. We're putting it into a big old tank. We got the boot water wheel, of course.
Powerhouse. I looked up the name. It's Powerhouse. Is the name of that
great.
song.
Yeah. Good song.
Yeah.
So James Bond gets there. He's sitting in his chair, and the chair, falls, and he falls into a pool of saliva. Is he going to drown in the pool of saliva before he gets electron microscope scan of his junk?
Of his junk.
So the University of Minnesota says, that saliva keeps the rumen pH between 6.2 and 6.8, don't you know, for best digestion of forage and foodstuffs.
Okay. It's a little
So like
acidic.
a neutral pH.
Yeah. It's a little.
Little.
I mean, when I lick anything like my own arm, it doesn't burn, you know?
Exactly. So it's not like, so you'd be able to swim in it. It's 99% water. It's not acid. It's got a specific density of 1.002 to 1.012 grams per meter. So it's like...
It's water.
More than water, but it's not more really,
It's basically water.
So James Bond could swim in the saliva pool. It would be maybe viscous, a little more viscous if there was mucus mixed in, which with a ruminant, maybe there would be. But, if we kept it clean, it wouldn't smell like anything, which is, I looked up all this because I was like, would it smell? Would we know that it's saliva, or would it just look like you're swimming in water? And it would probably just look like you're swimming in water.
Thick. Probably some bubbles, I imagine.
Yeah, maybe.
In some film.
I did look it up, and you know how water can taste clean when it's pure water? Because of the salivary amylase, which is a glucose polymer enzyme, maybe it would have a smell, but it would be like that feel of a smell more than a smell. Anyway, doesn't matter. The point is, I think a Bond villain would pretend that it's something more angry, like lions or something, but they don't produce enough saliva. I looked, they don't produce nearly as much saliva because they're obligate carnivores, and they do a lot of tearing, and they rely more on their gut to digest the meat, which also has a lot of fluid in it because it's still got heme and blood and all sorts of other stuff.
Okay.
So, I'm just saying.
Camels, though. Camels would readily contribute spit.
Pure ruminant. So I looked up sheep, camels, goats, giraffes. Also, have large salivary glands based on...
Very exotic Bond villain if you've got a...
Yeah, and I thought this Bond villain guy could have a whole menagerie
a herd of salivary giraffes.
Yeah, the thing is, lions, I think maybe just put a lion cage next to the saliva tank with some machinery so it seems like the lions are the cause, and then just have your herd behind the volcano layer,
right.
But outside, somewhere else,
don't look
and
at
just ship the
real
saliva
source
in.
Of the saliva is cows. It's
they don't need to know the real source.
It's bad for the
saliva.
brand.
No, we definitely want you to think that it's lion.
All the other
saliva.
villains will laugh at you.
Right, and we don't want that.
Con.
If we've learned anything from the Despicable Me.
Right. It's a very competitive field.
It's a very competitive.
Image is everything.
Yeah, you don't. And Bad Horse doesn't make enough saliva. I looked because of our Dr. Horrible sing-along blog last episode.
A lot of callbacks.
A lot of callbacks to the last episode. So anyway, I did find a Reddit post, though, so we can drown in saliva. You could swim in it if you had a pool of it, but that means you can drown in it. It's a fluid. And you could, have James Bond, cement shoes or something, and he would be underwater, and that would be the end of him. But I did find a Reddit post, which I think is perfect for the bonus points of this question. Do the French make more saliva?
Somebody asked this. Somebody
asked on Reddit, on the French subreddit, does your saliva accumulate in your mouth when you speak French, or is it just me? Because when I'm trying to speak French, I have to swallow my spit every so often. Especially when there's a lot of or sounds. Now, there's no science to this, clearly, like that I could find. But the comments are just a circus of fun. And so I will leave you with one of those comments. Ukrainian here. I also find it impossible to pronounce French r sounds without having more than usual amounts of saliva in the upper back of my mouth. Here's a quote from a phonetics textbook I stumbled upon because, of course, the Ukrainian looked it up. Most people make a uvular trill when gargling. Try gargling with some water to get the feel of the uvular trill, then gargling only with saliva. The Ukrainian continues, disclaimer, I am not very good at French.
Appreciate they put that out there.
If you're gargling saliva, then I think that you have some extra saliva. That's all I'm saying. So, sure. Yeah. Do the French have more? Sure. Why not?
Do you think French kissing started as like your trills are kind of underwhelming. Let me help you out there.
Yes.
Yes. Definitively.
Yes.
Not even gonna look into it.
Definitely. Yeah.
100%.
Don't even need to Google that.
You heard it here
it's
first.
The only reason it would have existed. They're like, you have saliva? I have saliva.
I have
Let us both
let me share. Let me trill your uvula for you.
And then the other thing. Why is this tiny bacteria following us around? So, Mostaphael, you can drown in saliva.
There you go.
You can.
It's a long walk. It's a long
but we
walk.
learned a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, if you got
we
enough.
We learned a lot, though.
Yeah, why not? We did. Things we can never unlearn.
Thank you for asking that question. I enjoyed it very much. You've done it.
We have. Our 99th episode.
Wow. Next episode is going to be... It's going to be a lot.
Banana.
It's going to be special. I'm very excited.
Yes. We're kind of trying to do a lot. I hope it works. I'm a little nervous.
I hope it works.
Before we actually try this.
I hope it works.
But 100 episodes, you got to try something. And listen, if it all burns to the ground in an epic failure, that's just kind of on brand for us.
Yeah, par for the course.
It's kind of a win-win, so.
No problem. Yeah. We really can't do wrong at this point. We've made 100 of these ridiculous episodes.
We have an audience that kind of loves us for how sort of bad we are at this, and I think that's a sweet spot to be in.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
I think that's nice.
Well, thank you, audience, for listening to 99 episodes of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. Amazing. Incredible.
Incroyable.
You know, some people would say that would be bad radio.
Yep, and they're right. Some people are right.
This show was created and written and whatever else by Julian Hugo.
Yeah, and also created, written, and uvularly trilled by Tres Darlingales.
Today's show was edited and produced by you know what? He has the perfect amount of saliva.
Yes.
No extra, not dry mouth, not spittle breath, just Kyle Sisk. Perfect amount of saliva every time.
Also, our salivary associate producer in training, Sabrina Capello, and our intern who we have to provide him with spit, Charlie Woodbury. That's gross. Charlie's gonna quit after this. Okay.
He's learning. Thank you to the listeners who submitted questions on this episode, Ava and Mostaphael. If you want to submit a question, look for the form down in the show notes. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask. You can call us on the phone. Julian, hit it!
302 Oh, crap.
Oh, shoot. We messed it up. Let's try again. Back to one. Back to one, everybody.
302. Wait. Back to one
I
is
was
in
counting
one,
down. I was counting us in.
Like the country code. It's 302 Tape Show. That's TAPESHO.
TAPESHO. Call and leave a question for our show.
Thanks if you do, by the way. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, thanks to those who subscribe to our Patreon. We talked about we are going to be able to do the Bay Area Science Festival in October. And basically making that fall within our budget are the patrons. So thank you for doing that. And also, they're always picking questions. The 100th episode, they're going to contribute a lot to. If you would like to join, you can go to patreon.com/that'sabsurdshow. We must thank our absurd administrators, Adam, Les, Austin, Jonathan, Evan, Dan, Sabrina, The Brain, and Silver Skies. Thank you all, and all the rest of the patrons for always propping this show up and letting us do fun things like we're about to go and do.
It's so exciting. Leave us a review wherever you're listening right now. This is a way to support the show without monetarily supporting the show directly. You can do both if you want, porque no los dos, but if you want to support the show for free right this minute, follow the show, hit that review, and leave us the number of stars that you think are the correct number of stars for us. I hope it's 5, but you know what? If it's 1, just leave something funny. But ideally, you wouldn't do that because that will mess up our rating. Please don't do that
to me.
Please don't.
After 99 episodes?
Yeah, come on. We're doing okay, right? We're doing okay. I think we're doing okay. So tell everyone that the show is worth their time by leaving us a review, and tell a friend who you think the show is worth your time that it's worth their time too. Yeah. Send the show to them. Text them, send them to them in an email, put it on your school listserv, whatever. Just share it with people so that we can continue to do more live shows. We'll come to your town. We'll come to your university. Send us an email and tell us, hey, we want to have you here, and we'll try and make it happen. We'll be there with bells on, or drooling, or both.
Probably drooling. Mostly drool.
But,
I
definitely
also make
drooling.
a lot. Yeah. You can see me doing that over on our YouTube, by the way.
And you can also see us do that over on Nebula. Nebula helps support this show as well. Everyone watching and listening over on Nebula supports the show by doing exactly that. The same thing that you're doing if you're not on Nebula, just listening to the show. People on Nebula who listen to the show, we get support monetarily from Nebula for that. So visit go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow to join. You get a discount on an annual membership. I know several of you have. Thank you for joining Nebula and listening to us there. And we get support if you join. And there's lots of other creators that you can watch and listen to with no ads, with original content. It's awesome. I'm not going to get into it too much. Anyway, remember, every episode for 99 episodes, we have said the same catchphrase. And it's ironic that it's E. coli filet mignon is the best.
I thought our catchphrase was, yuck, I just stepped in a big pile of Monday.
What?
Wait, no, it's my boss told me to have a good day, so I went home. It's, all right, who pressed fast forward on my weekend? If it isn't obvious yet, I just looked up a bunch of Minion memes, and I'm just reading them to you.
Or someone offered me grapes, but I declined. I'm not used to consuming wine in pill form. And then it says, in a weird other font not placed well, share if letter U relate. Ellipsis.
That's all Minion memes. I don't know who made the original. It's impossible to tell. It's always the second-hand derivation where someone added another thing to it. It doesn't make any sense.
Why do I get the 4chan wine memes and you get the fun 1970s hang in there, baby
Yeah,
ones?
Well, I mean, I may have pre-screened them a little bit. I'm not just reading them willy-nilly. There's some horrible ones that came up, too, when I Googled Minion memes. Just like when I Googled, how does Minion sex work?
Oh, God, no!
Yeah!
No! No!
Yeah, it was bad.
Don't do it.
Oh,
Rule
here's
34.
a Minion meme. I'm in shape. Unfortunately, the shape is West Germany. It's a Minion in the shape of West Germany. Who makes
Julian,
these?
Julian, it's just Cinco Paul in his basement. Making these on repeat. Julian, can I ask you a serious question?
Sure.
Do we need to have an intervention? Are you a Minion truther?
Yes. Minions definitely were made in a lab. Minion evolution is fake.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Minions are not. They are flat. They're not circular or spherical. And when they heat up, they don't melt. Wow. Okay, that was great.